the sex magic. They said, let's have magic, but make it sex. Guys, welcome back to the Shannon Show. Hello, for good news. So today's video is going to be my most ridiculous moments in the chilling adventures of Sabrina Part 4. I hope everybody is doing as well as can be, and I really do hope everybody is being as proactive as possible and supporting the Black Lives Matter movement. And if you're still on the lookout for some resources, I've linked some in the description. Feel free to comment down below your thoughts on my commentary. I'm always up for a chat, I'm always up for a debate. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you didn't, give it a dislike, no hard feelings. And if you really like this video, consider subscribing and helping you get out. So, Sabrina Part 4, the fourth and final season. Just a disclaimer out there, I did actually think it was a solid ending. I did enjoy my time watching this season, but there were a lot of ridiculous moments which I just feel like I have to talk about and dedicate a video to. With Sabrina, it's created by the same people who created Riverdale, and everybody knows that Riverdale is ridiculous, and I feel like last season they kind of integrated a bit of the ridiculousness from Riverdale into Sabrina, and it definitely continued into this season. So let's just talk about it. So I have 11 ridiculous moments on this list, so let's just get through them. So my 11th most ridiculous moment in this season was the performative activism, and it was just a laugh. I couldn't help but laugh through that whole speech that Sabrina was having with the whole co-president situation, when she was talking about she was going to be the voice of the voiceless and the oppressed. Honestly, I'm kind of sick of people just sprinkling performative activism to try and seem like they're socially conscious when they're not. I mean, the fact that Sabrina, a white woman, was basically the voice of this co-presidency and basically was doing everything, and was basically Kamala Harris in this situation, was just a bit funny to me. And what is even more ironic is that they paid one of the only progressive trans characters in a young adult series right now, Theo, absolute dust. Like, they paid him absolute dust this season. The lesbian storyline that they had literally disintegrated. Like, it was just like they made it like a really hot thing for 1 minute in last season, and then this season, like, it's just disappeared. It's just very funny, and it's ridiculous. So my 10th ridiculous moment of this season was the writers kind of roasting themselves in that episode where Sabrina Morningstar is in the alternative universe. And there's this one scene where she talks to Caliban in the alternative universe, and they basically admitted that they are getting these male characters personal trainers and taking their shirts off for absolutely no reason, and the fact that these writers obviously think that these male actors are hot and want to see them with their shirt off. And honestly, I'm getting a bit tired of it, especially with the Riverdale writers. Like, I'm honestly triggered now whenever Archie takes off his shirt. But yeah, I'm not sure whether I'm just like, oh my god, they're roasting themselves that smart, or whether it's just like, no. Let me know what you think. But anyway, in general, the male characters just randomly taking their shirts off is ridiculous. So at number 9 is a three-way kissing scene that we saw. It was literally like 2 seconds long, but I saw it and I was just like, what the fuck is happening? And why is this on my screen? And it was in one of the later episodes. I think it was the final episode, right at the beginning. We just see Theo and his boyfriend, Roz and Harvey, and Sabrina and Nick, and they're all just like on separate ends of the couch making out, and I'm just like, why would you as couples come together, go to somebody's house just to make out with each other? I don't know, it's a bit weird, it's a bit ridiculous. But did anyone else find that weird, or was that just me? Is that a couples thing? Let me know. So the 8th most ridiculous moment in this season was them trying to make the singing / musical performance scenes a thing. Obviously, I watch Riverdale, and I feel like the general consensus in Riverdale is that we hate the singing scenes. We hate it. They tried squeezing it in the last season of Sabrina, and again, people complained. So what did they decide to do? They gave us even more than they did last season. I feel like there was more singing going on in this season than there is in Riverdale. And I absolutely hated it. Like, the fact that they actually dedicated a whole episode with this whole made-up satanic band that came back from the dead just so we could get 3 performances that we didn't ask for. Ridiculous. And don't get me wrong, individually they all have nice voices. I've heard them sing, they have nice voices, but I don't know what's going on with the engineering and music team Like, they just all sound horrible. It sounds like a West End, sounds a Broadway soundtrack. It just doesn't sound nice. Like, at least make it sound nice. It just sounds horrible. And they just kept doing it. And I was just wishing that it would stop. But yeah, ridiculous. So the seventh most ridiculous moment in Riverdale for me was the endgame scene. I mean, I can't believe that the writers actually wrote down on a script, Sabrina, we're endgame, and actually made Nick say it. I was absolutely cringing in that scene. And don't get me wrong, I did ship Nick and Sabrina at one point. I personally think she shouldn't have took him back because he was trash. But when he said that, that was absolutely cringe. I absolutely hate when they start pulling quotes off Stan Twitter and putting it on the script. Stop it. Stop it. I don't ever want to see that ever again in any script, ever. Ridiculous. So the sixth most ridiculous moment for me was the long live single Sabrina. I mean, they literally made her single, made this whole storyline of how she's just going to focus on herself and not be invested in relationships. And then literally, not even an episode and a half later, she's offering her pant to Nick. I mean, they could have, spaced it out a bit longer. I mean, we knew she was probably going to hook up with somebody, but there's me thinking we're going to have a young adult show where the protagonist stays single for at least the end of the season. I guess I was naive, but yeah, that was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I don't blame her for offering the pant to Nick, but I mean, they could have waited a few episodes if you ask me. So the fifth most ridiculous moment in this season for me was the sex magic. They said, let's have magic, but make it sex. They literally made up sex magic with this whole Harvey and Roz situation where Roz somehow transmitted her thoughts through lovemaking with Harvey. And it only happened once though. It only happened once. The sex magic literally was just one time only, and then we never saw it in action again. It was just a bit ridiculous for me. Ridiculous. Now, the fourth most ridiculous moment for me is Roz being a witch. Now, I saw that coming, but the explanation that they gave was absolutely ridiculous with the whole, the generational family witches kept it a secret because they were Christians, and then her having like the third eye on her head. Like, it was ridiculous. And then on top of that, she was meant to be a witch, but we didn't see her do any spells. Like, why make her a witch and then not have her do any spells? It doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm not sure whether she was always meant to be a witch or whether they just added that in and just forgot about the rest. But yeah, it's a bit ridiculous. The third most ridiculous moment of this season for me was the whole Nazi Germany-esque realm with Faustus, basically Hitler. That was a bit ridiculous. I don't know whose idea it was to try and make an edgy Nazi Germany and have like the witches basically be substitute for Jews. I just it was a bit is this what we're doing now? I mean, I know they'd just be coming up with anything, but I mean, it was a bit out there. I thought it was a bit ridiculous. So, the second most ridiculous moment in this season for me was Lilith killing her son. I don't know why she would do that. It still doesn't really make sense to me, because she wanted this child all along to be royalty in hell. And she forced Lucifer to have this baby, tricked him to have this baby, and he was on board for this baby. Obviously, then there was the threat of Caliban now wanting to kill the baby. So she went into hiding. Okay, cool. But then when Lucifer comes back to claim her and the baby, she's now switching it up like, she doesn't want the baby to be raised by him, and decides that because he wants to raise the baby, she's now going to kill the baby.
I freed our son.
But it didn't really make sense to me, the motive of why she would want to protect this baby when she was just using this baby to become royalty in hell. So the fact that she killed the baby didn't really make sense to me, because last time I checked, she was in love with Lucifer, and basically they think this, and they're pretty similar. So I don't know why she'd be so against Lucifer raising the baby to the point where she would actually kill the baby. After she did all of that to keep the baby safe, that didn't really make sense to me, and that was just ridiculous and so out there for me. So if anyone can make sense of it, please let me know, because it just seems very ridiculous to me. And number one on my most ridiculous moments of Sabrina this season is Sabrina's death. Obviously Sabrina died, and I think a lot of us are going to obviously be surprised that they killed Sabrina and they didn't bring her back to life. I was expecting her to come back to life.
We are gathered here today.
I mean, it makes a nice dramatic finish.
But
it just really didn't really make sense to me, considering Sabrina is this all-powerful witch. She's brought herself back to life before, so I don't know why she couldn't do it again. So I'm just a bit confused, like, was she this all-powerful witch or not, like, the first? And then on top of that, after she did die, Nick decides to kill himself, basically, so that he can be with her in wherever she's at. And I just think that it was very ridiculous for him to do that. I mean, I do think that he loved her, but I think literally him sleeping around with the whole town and not really caring about her until now, I don't think he would now then go and kill himself so he could be with her in the afterlife. That seemed like a bit of a reach to me and a bit ridiculous. But yeah, does Sabrina's death make sense to you? Does Nick killing himself to be with her in the afterlife make sense to you? Do let me know, because it just seemed very ridiculous to me. So yeah, that's pretty much the roundup of my most ridiculous moments of Sabrina Part 4. Yeah, it's finally over. I was expecting a Riverdale crossover. I'm not sure if we're going to get that now, because, I mean, they killed her. I mean, maybe they could bring her back, I don't know, in Riverdale. I don't know. But yeah, it's over. So yeah, feel free to let me know what you thought of this season. Let me know what you thought of my thoughts. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and if you have, don't forget to put my notification bell on so you know when the next video is dropping. My current goal is to get to 2.6k subscribers. I'm almost there, so I'd appreciate if you help me reach that goal. And until next time, guys, bye.